Perfect. Well, yes, today we wanted to welcome Robbie Fitzwater to our marketing management podcast. Robbie completed his undergrad at the University of Arkansas, Woo Pig, as well as his MBA at Clemson University. He currently teaches at Clemson, and he is also the founder and a consultant for the company Marketing Rhythm. So Robbie, we wanted to thank you for investing your time to speak with us today. We're very excited to get to know a little bit about you as well as talking shop with you. I'm Ehlysa Ingalls, and if my fellow interviewers would like to introduce themselves.
My name is Griffin.
I'm Juan Valdez.
I'm Abby Clark.
Yes, so it's nice to meet you, Robbie. And we were just wondering if you could outline your career path for us and kind of your motive behind creating your company Marketing Rhythm.
Okay, so yeah, excited to be here. Love talking shop and then helping you guys. Yeah, seeing the next generation of marketers coming into the world and getting to help be part of that. Like, it's energizing and exciting for me. So again, love getting to be part of this. My marketing career started off when I was in school at U of A. Had the opportunity to do marketing for the business I was working at the time. It was a Fleet Feet in Fayetteville. Decided to start a Facebook page for the store in like 2008. So like the Wild West of social. It was really fun. Had some great times. Had a lot of learning. Ended up using that as a way to grow the business there. Then recognized that there's an opportunity here. Other businesses recognized we were doing well there. They asked for help. I was there to help. And so started my own business while I was in school. Eventually had about 7 clients at one point. So doing this for a lot of businesses was kind of fun, exciting. Again, still the early days of social, but realized, hey, there's a cap to what I can do, and was really lucky and fortunate to be in this space where I got to actually work to kind of be part of the process of starting a business called ModThink in Fayetteville. I think I was, again, early on the team and got to basically help other businesses learn how to do it for themselves and learn how to grow and build a digital strategy for themselves. And had a great time doing that, learned a lot and grew a lot. And then from there, was able to, actually from there, my wife finished her PhD. My now wife finished her PhD. We eventually moved to South Carolina, where we live now in Greenville. And she took a job at Clemson, and as opposed to taking a job at an agency in the area, I ended up taking a job at Clemson too. It was kind of a curveball, but was a marketing strategist there, and then ended up as director of social for the university after about a year or so. So was director of social media for Clemson University, did that for about 5 years. We did pretty well for ourselves. It was a lot of fun getting to kind of like have the energy of a university atmosphere. And I think we were like number 2 most engaging university in the country at one point. So did well for ourselves there. And during that process was growing as a marketer, decided to actually take an opportunity to try a little bit larger role as a director of marketing for a large e-commerce organization, actually based in Greenville. So selling basically anything in the water filtration, water industry, from like the filter in your fridge to filters for a municipality, and everything in between. Learned a lot, had a great time, got a team to where they were in a really good place, and I was kind of a glorified cheerleader. And then the opportunity to start my own business came up. I recognized, hey, there's a really underserved market in the e-commerce space where people don't necessarily understand how to retain customers very well. So getting to help them build systems and do that effectively is a really unique opportunity for them. And then also to teach. In that process, I emailed the dean of the Clemson MBA program. It's like, hey, there may be a hole in this program. I think we could fill it here. And then I started teaching the next fall. So it's been a fun process, but very jagged career path. And I think any marketer kind of has that to some extent. You learn a lot, you grow a lot along the way.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I can't wait to, learn from your point of view on certain aspects in marketing. So we'll start out with, so in the podcast that you sent as a marketing book podcast, Mark Schaefer explains the theme of consumers now being in control. He highlights that through his soap example and how traditional soap brands are in decline because it's not the brand they're looking into, but the sustainable value of the brand. And even Kylie Jenner's article explains how traditional brands are in decline due to the direction of change in the market context and consumer taste. So just in your eyes, what initiated this new idea that consumers are now like the marketers?
So it's still a fairly like new idea, but like you guys live it and you breathe it every day. Like you guys as individuals, like you've grown up in the space where social is a thing. Like you get to advocate for your brand, the brands you enjoy, the brands you consume on a frequent basis. And because we're picky humans, we want to have something unique, we have something just for us. Connecting with brands in a unique one-to-one way, that's a lot easier now. Like with groups like a Shopify, suddenly I can have a store up and running in a day where that would have taken years and years and years of time in the past and a lot of front-end infrastructure investment. Now I can really build a brand off of the audience I've built through my personal networks, but also through the relationships that I've built with people over the course of time. So there's a lot of unique opportunities here in the way that, hey, we can kind of like step forward past what has been there in the past, because again, larger brands can scale at a certain level that smaller brands can't. But while those small brands may never outscale those larger brands, they can outhuman them. And in so many ways, that's what's a differentiator for them, because they can make a human connection and create a meaningful relationship with a customer who's going to purchase on a frequent basis. And in a lot of ways, those are the most profitable customers for you, because you're not acquiring new customers every single time somebody makes a purchase. So from the perspective of human connection, I think there's a lot of really unique opportunities there. One of the examples I always joke about in my class is like the Beverly Hills Hillbillies. Like after 6 weeks of being on air, the Beverly Hills Hillbillies had 60 million viewers after about 6 weeks, which was crazy. The finale of Mad Men, which was like promoted and like that show had a cult following, had about 3 million viewers of the finale of Mad Men after 7 successful seasons, and people all over it, because the context of the world had changed. There's suddenly not only 3 networks, there's suddenly all the networks you could possibly imagine. And the fragmentation of the media that we consume allows for that now. And because we're picky and we want what we want from the groups we want to buy it from, we get to be a lot more picky, and we get to choose what we want, and we get to do business with who we want. And the small guys get a win in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that was awesome. And so another thing that they kind of talked about was loyalty, and you just talked big and small, and they kind of touched on the fact that big businesses are kind of in a frenzy trying to, encourage brand loyalty and retain customers. And we also read a few articles in class about some trends for 2022. And one of the trends in one of the articles was that, shoppers are becoming less brand loyal to, the traditional brands that they would be loyal to. And I mean, a lot of this can be from inflation, but it's also from just social change in general. But then another interesting connection is that also loyalty is kind of a new frontier for growth. And so my question is that if this is true, that loyalty is the frontier for growth, where should companies what direction should they go in as far as exerting resources to be able to retain customers and grow without, as the podcast described, wasting their money?
Okay, so could go a lot of different directions with this one. Okay, so when I told you guys when I left the e-commerce space, like as a director of marketing, I did that because I recognized, hey, we're doing some things in the e-commerce space that are really not that innovative, or I didn't think were that innovative. But basically, we were leveraging content marketing to retain customers. Like we're like, okay, we're gonna make fairly, in my opinion, average videos at that point. Like I came from a place where like my team, we published like 300 videos in 2019 for Clemson University. Like we published a lot of great content. Going into a space where we were not publishing as frequently, and the level wasn't at the certain place, I was like, oh my gosh, this is absolute trash. We're publishing this, but it's printing money for us because, hey, there's no Netflix for plumbers, and suddenly they're engaging in the content we have built for them, and they love it because like they don't have any other access to it. So that differentiator is the human connection and the expertise inside that business. And that's what makes it unique in a way, hey, people that are passionate about XYZ industry, they're passionate about it because they really get excited about it and they love it. There may be some of those industries that are a lot more competitive. Like we talked about the Kylie Jenner article, like the women's cosmetics industry is probably the most competitive, innovative space in marketing right now because the lifetime value of the customer is so high and the margins are so strong because like the front end investment for makeup or cosmetics is not as much as it is some other products. So it's really competitive and it's really exciting, but that lifetime value is probably just such a unique component to where people are focusing on marketing right now, because a lot of marketing seems like it's focused. Okay. I always think about like there's 3 ways to geometrically grow a business. You can increase the number of customers, you can increase your average order value, or you can increase your lifetime value. If you double any one of those 3, you double the revenue of your business. Which one do you guys think marketers typically focus on? 1, 2, or 3?
Lifetime. 3.
You are a very confident marketer. Which one of these is the most sexy, guys? Which one of these, like number of customers, average order value, or lifetime value?
Maybe 1.
Yeah, number of customers.
Yeah, acquisition. It's so exciting because like, hey, look how many people we reached. This is how many new customers we're bringing in the door. That's exciting. That's sexy to a lot of marketers. That number 2 and 3 get kind of overlooked a lot of time. And that lifetime value and the average order value, if you can push that lifetime value up, the average order value typically goes with it, because if you can inform and educate your customers on like what's valuable and unique about your product, if you have a line of products that offers multiple different ways they can do business with you, you're going to push each one of those up in conjunction, and neither one of those come with an acquisition cost on top of it. So if you can really effectively manage that relationship, you can do a really great job of extending the lifetime value and expanding it farther than you would be able to just coming through a bunch of new customers. So again, taking your good customers, making them your great customers, and really differentiating yourself is really that unique opportunity. And so many of the businesses can do it through that personality, that human touch, and the expertise that are kind of live inside that brand. It's just bringing that into the digital space in a scalable way. And it's not always exciting. I do that with a lot of my clients, and we focus on retention, and we do a lot of work through email. And it sounds kind of boring, but it's like you're doing the same thing you're doing on social, except you're 3 steps closer to the cash register, and you're not battling an algorithm to reach your customers.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah. And you know that in the podcast, they kind of shift gears and start talking about technology and how everything's digitized, and that comes with spam and annoyance. And there was a quote that stuck with me, and it was, technology has become the enemy of great marketing, not because it's bad, but because it's so good. And, you know, I can relate with this because I have 3 personal emails, and 2 of them I can't even look at because it's brands wanting my money. Obviously, there's no personal touch, human interaction or anything. And so with your experience as a digital marketer, what are some ways that people or companies can use technology as their friend instead of, as an enemy in this? And, how can they personalize the message?
So one of the ways they can do that is like getting to know their customers and like getting to know their customers, what they need and how to serve them well. In a lot of cases, like I always feel like there's a lack of knowledge between like the business and who their customers are, and like a one-to-one connection or even talking to some of their best customers on a fairly frequent basis goes a long way to help them understand, hey, this is who my customer is, this is how they're using the product, and this is how to serve them in a unique way. But part of that marketer's job, like you should be getting to know that customer better and better all the time, and being able to understand, hey, let's basically think about what we want our customer journey to look like. If we could line that up, what stages would they need to go through to be successful or feel successful with our product? And then kind of what are going to be what can we walk that person through to take them from a first-time purchaser to a first-time purchaser who refers to a friend, to a two-time purchaser, to a two-time purchaser who refers to a friend? And what are the stages I need to take them through? What buy-in do I need to get? And then understanding, hey, how do I either help collect that data, offer enough value that they're willing to give that data, but also getting to know them on a frequent basis. Like there's some level of community that really goes a long way. And that's where some of the really successful brands are doing now, is like connecting content with community and commerce to add more value than they ask for in a lot of cases, where they can help people, even if it's not necessarily specifically with that individual product, they're not necessarily helping, they're really kind of just keeping that engagement going and keeping that value add going, where it's not necessarily like a business trying to sell you something, it's your friend trying to help you with something and your friend trying to support you as you do XYZ.
So a lot of it's, kind of in stages instead of just attacking, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like a relationship. Like you have to have a foundation of trust, and you're going to build off of that. But afterwards, there's so much like cool stuff you can do. Like I have one client, we collect they're an equestrian business. After somebody reaches a certain phase, we ask them to be on our VIP list. To get on the VIP list for this business, you have to submit like your horse's name, your horse's birthday. And like people are like, okay, great, horse's name, horse's birthday. What do you think happens when we email them, hey, Skittles' birthday is coming up in 9 days. We wanted to say happy early birthday, and just in case you want to, like, they lose their minds because they care about their horse at a super intimate level, and suddenly like we know their horse's name, we know their horse's birthday, and we get to celebrate with them. And for them, like they love it. And when we're adding value through the course of the year, they eat that up because, hey, we're not just like a business trying to sell to them. We're a business trying to support them being a better rider. We're a business trying to be with them in the winter when they can't ride, and like, how do they spend time with their horse? There's so much value to be had there, and they're willing to go the extra mile to connect with the customer because they care.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Kind of just to piggyback off what Aaron asked you, but we talk so much about how that human touch, that personal interaction kind of differentiates one company from another. So I thought it was interesting because in the podcast, Schaefer says that 75% of your meetings should be with your customer. And I just kind of want to see, how do you think COVID has affected this? And do you think you can still establish that same trust and relationship with a customer, I guess, in an online presence, when usually in the past, just face-to-face is so interactive?
So the majority of the businesses I work with are e-commerce businesses. So they already have this, like they're typically e-commerce first, where they don't necessarily always see like their customers. Like, and sometimes it's like, hey, how do we break down that barrier so we can get to know your customers? So some of that is like, hey, let's reach out and get somebody on the phone and see what their problems are and like get to know them. And like, it sounds weird, but like holding your client's hand as they walk through that first time they're actually talking to their customer on the phone, and they love it, but it's scary for them at times because like they've just never done it. And again, businesses who kind of like start off in the brick and mortar space, they kind of have a distinct advantage because they may know their customers a lot better out of the gate. They may also struggle with like just being able to think about how do we think nationally as opposed to regionally, but that's another story. But there's so much to be had in understanding, hey, how do we like offer a digital consultation? How do we help them like with XYZ to find the right product for them, and not look at it as like an opportunity just to sell, but look at it as an opportunity to get to know the customers. Like what were the hangups they had? What made them struggle to find what they're looking for? Because typically a high consideration decision, they're going to need more touch points of information. So again, we can fill in that information gap with content afterwards based on what we've learned, but also they're typically going to want like a little bit more human touch at that last stage when they're ready to pull the trigger and they need to make a product purchase decision. And that's where that differentiation can really happen, where, hey, we're going to walk you across the goal line. Like, again, technically that's a salesperson, but they make it a lot easier and they take away a lot of the stress from the individual and make them feel more confident in the decision they're making. So getting to know the customer is super important and super helpful in kind of breaking down those barriers and understanding how to serve them and how we may uniquely serve them, where everybody else can, again, offer a lot of scale and a lot of support in different ways. We can offer a human connection and a human touch that is difficult to scale in a lot of ways, but really powerful, because when you do that, those unscalable things on the front end, your business benefits because it has that strong lifetime value afterwards. So it's not easy to make that investment on the front end, but it's really profitable and cost effective in the long run.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's also profitable because, you know, there's also word of mouth. So if someone says they have great customer service, and then it just kind of branches out from there.
Yeah, and people trust people. Like, nobody purchases anything if there's no social proof around it. like
Reviews.
You never purchase anything on, do you guys purchase on Amazon if there's no reviews?
I don't purchase it. It has to have like over a couple thousand purchases with many stars.
Yeah, and so like that social proof carries that business really far too. And just understanding, hey, these people are trying to make complicated decisions. There's a lot of information they could be taking in. How do we simplify it? How do we make it easy? And then how do we like separate ourselves as humans during that process? And sometimes it's like personifying the brand, like having the brand spokesperson. Like, you may know Lizzie or Michelle from XYZ brand, and that suddenly resonates a lot more authentically than like business insert add like HTML email to an individual.
Yes. Well, I found the article to be very interesting just because I feel like I've seen Kylie's growth throughout her brand with makeup, and now she has a skincare line for little babies. And so I thought it was interesting because the article says Kylie is leveraging all aspects of social media marketing to stretch the boundaries of customer engagement. And her loyal fan base, I feel like, has definitely contributed to her overwhelming success. But how do you think her period of silence on social media due to the Asherle tragedy has affected her brand, especially in a world where cancel culture is just so popular these days and can be very detrimental to someone's brand?
So she's like, and this is where this one's really interesting, guys, because like this article is from like 2018, and I love this article because she has a content first business. Like, she built her platform and she built a product off of that platform. She leveraged the audience she had built to build a successful business because she could monetize her audience suddenly because she was selling XYZ product, and cosmetics are, again, a very profitable category. Glossier did basically the same thing with their Beyond the Gloss blog, which I love, and I'm a huge Glossier fan.
I use their products. I love them too.
Yeah, they do the best marketing. It is amazing. My wife has ordered a few things from them, and I'm always like, hey, can you send me, like, can you just forward me their emails? Like, I just want to see it. Just want to see what's going on, because they're amazing. But she basically like created this off of the back of her audience that she had built. When she's done that, she was, again, effective at scaling, effective at doing that well. She did do a lot of surveys and like reached out to understand her customers, and she leveraged that on a fairly frequent basis to get that feedback really fast. So like marketing research wise, like she could like expedite anything really quickly because she's just reaching out to her audience. She's leveraging that. And then something like this happens where it really like shakes everything to its core. And again, I don't truthfully know the nuts and bolts of the Astro world. Like,
yeah.
Everything that happened and then like everything that's happened since. I don't get to keep up with pop culture as much with a 2.5-year-old. Like that just that part of keeping up with pop culture and sports, like that just goes downhill really fast. But you're kind of understanding like, hey, you're beholden to what's happening around you. And like, again, it's part of that is in some ways on her. Like she probably has a really strong, passionate fan base who's sticking with her. But truthfully, I mean, like understanding, hey, your brand is the company you keep in a lot of cases. And the people around your brand are also an extension of you. And when that's the space you're in, you run the risk of, this is like high risk, high reward relationships. So where that was the case, I think in this situation, it can be really detrimental when you kind of like put yourself out there like that. So as a personal brand and as an individual, it's a more risky situation in some cases. So like that high risk, high reward is always there. You may not have that same level of stability, but you kind of have to understand, what am I doing? Everything has to be viewed through how is this going to be an extension of my brand? Is this the right way for me to go? Is this the right thing for me to do? And that when that has dollar signs afterwards, when each one of those decisions has dollar signs afterwards, it typically makes people think a lot more about each one of those decisions. So
it's definitely tricky because I feel like consumers nowadays, especially with my generation Z, they're just so quick to jump to change their loyalties, especially when stuff like this happens. And so I definitely thought it was very interesting of Kylie, which, you know, it's hard to navigate these uncharted waters, I guess, but I think she's done a pretty good job. So
yeah, and like again, she's not the first like major person with like a controversy around them. Like there's lots of degrees of this, and like there's lots of examples of like people who are like a darling that have become like, again, a little bit more challenging. And some of those cases, like those do open the door for like, hey, like I made a mistake here, and like owning that and leaning into it in some cases makes her more human in the long term, and where like it could potentially be like a bad advantage to her in some cases. Like, yeah, she may never be able to win over everyone, but hey, her core loyal base of fans are even tighter now because it's not something that she got through, it's something they overcame together. And they feel like they have some ownership over her, and her doing that in a public space allows them to feel like they're connecting in a different level.
So let me first start off with, I'm sorry I hopped on here a little late. My Zoom had to update, which is quite annoying, but okay, back to this. So going off of basically what y'all were just talking about with her loyal fan base and all that, and with the consumer now acting as the marketer through social media, Robbie, how do you think, or how critical do you think her large existing platform base was for the success of her business? Do you think that her success was really mainly like her loyal followers that drove her success, or do you think it was possibly like the value of her products and maybe like the way that she marketed them?
I think definitely like her audience is like the most valuable thing she had. Like her products could be great. Her products may be XYZ, but like the average consumer, if you put like one versus like the average consumer, like you're not, a typical person can't tell 99% better from 95% better. Like you're not gonna be able to judge those differences. So everything left over is the marketing and the context that which you purchase it in. And like, again, we purchase products that are kind of an extension of who we are. And that brand is kind of helping us tell the story we tell about ourselves. And that's absolutely the case here, where they were passionate fans. They wanted to be part of it. And she was able to leverage that large audience she, again, had built to monetize and build a business out of. And like I said, it's her personal fans, but she's able to take that with her. And like, this is where I'm always like, hey, this is a unique component of social and a unique component of digital now, because in the past, a person, like, they had like a Rolodex where they could maintain all the relationships they have with them throughout XYZ their lives. And like a person's brain can only hold about 150 meaningful connections, where your LinkedIn or your Instagram can hold as many as you want. And basically we're carrying those around with us in our backs all the time. And if any time you wanted to leverage your network, you can reach thousands of people without working too hard to do it. And that's a really unique space we're in, because, hey, like suddenly we have a lot more control as consumers, because if somebody does something to us, like we can let our networks know, we can let our audiences know, and we can really, like, people can do really crazy things based on the influence they can wield and how much they could either positively or negatively impact a business. So that network that like everybody has carrying around with them, it's really valuable. So understanding what the value of that is in some cases is really unique. But like, again, in that social space, the more you can piggyback off somebody else's network and borrow the authority and the credibility they've built over time, the more likely somebody's going to be actually, like, the easier it's going to be to build credibility and respect, because, hey, my friend just validated you. That's easier for me to make that mental leap in understanding, hey, what you're doing is actually, like, this is good makeup, this is good XYZ. It's just a lot easier for people to get there.
Gotcha. So I know in the article that you sent us, I think it was Jessica Alba, who tried to start a cosmetic line, but she didn't have any success with it. And so I kind of thought that was pretty interesting, just because she is a celebrity and I have heard nothing about her cosmetic line. And so I just think that Kylie definitely went about several just blows my mind how good at marketing she kind of is, because she really boomed with this makeup line, and just in several different strategies, using several different strategies and tactics. And I just kind of thought that was really interesting, that even someone like Jessica Alba couldn't get her brand out there. So
yeah, like I said, like the women's cosmetic space, like I always look for like the most innovative places in marketing, and like I want to go there and understand like what's going on, because like that's like where really innovative things are happening. Like that's who should be your North Star as a marketer, not like your competition, where you can borrow from, like, hey, I'm going to be borrowing ideas from Glossier when you're borrowing ideas from like the boring competitor in your space, because like I'm, as a marketer, like I'm going to move 10 times faster, 10 times farther than like borrowing ideas and making it my own, like looking at these innovative spaces, because again, businesses or industries may not evolve as quickly in those cases, but the ones that are doing it well are not just looking at what's going on in their industry. They're the ones that are borrowing and using ideas from lots of other places. Like I've had teams where like every week on the team, somebody had to bring a new account we should follow that week. And they brought a reason that, hey, this is why we're going to follow this account. Like I follow Taylor Swift because she is a gangster marketer. She is amazing. And I learned a lot from her, but I wouldn't normally follow Taylor Swift for her music, but learning from her as a marketer, like you've got to appreciate it. Like she does really good work. So being able to have a consistent pipeline of other things that you're looking at to pull in is helpful as a marketer. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Right. Well, thank you so much for all that. Definitely got some very good advice off of that.
I
And
have one more connection off of what Robbie just said. Another thing is like, which Abby made this. I didn't even know this before, but Kylie launched a swimsuit line that was a flunk. And so, do you think that was a flunk because of there wasn't, marketing opportunity there like there was in the makeup industry, or do you think she just wasn't fully developed on her kind of marketing strategy yet?
So from that perspective, I truthfully don't know. And like, this could be a place where they would appreciate her. She may have had credibility in the makeup space and the cosmetics industry, but not necessarily the credibility in the swimsuit space. And also swimsuits like maybe a once or twice a year investment, where cosmetics are like more frequent. So it may be a more like, cosmetics are a lot more profitable industry in some cases because it's a very consistent, repetitive, repeat purchase product and category. So it could be very easy. And again, it may be a lower investment on the front end, where swimsuit costs like $100 or more. And there are some businesses like just killing it in the swimsuit space now too. A lot of direct to consumer retailers, like I guess Andy Swim or a lot of others, are doing very well for themselves because they do know their customer well. They can scale that experience, and they do a very good job making sure that people are going to get the right product, the right product for them, with the assortment that's going to be appropriate for them too. So again, while that credibility may translate over to one area, it may not translate everywhere. And I love that you guys are getting into this, because like this article, every semester I have my class read this article in my social strategy course and my digital marketing strategy course every semester. And it's really fun because like everybody nerds out on these articles, and like I've never seen, like I have part-time MBA students, or like corporate MBA students who are like in their 50s or in their 40s, like they've never heard of Kylie Jenner, but they nerd out and they suddenly get so excited about this. And there's a million comments every week's discussion in the discussion questions, because like there's nerding out on like all this crazy stuff. And they're like, I never thought I'd get so excited about an article about Kylie Jenner ever. But it's really good. And it talks like through the business reasoning behind it too. So
yeah, exactly. But before I read that, I was like, okay, I mean, Kylie Jenner, yeah, she made $1 billion because she has 1 billion followers, but there's actually a little more depth into it, which is cool.
Yeah, I think we find it very interesting too, because I feel like we've all kind of grown up with Kylie, like watching her grow up on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And she's like, I think only 2 years older than us, maybe even a little less. So it was kind of interesting getting to see, like, we grew up with her, even her cosmetics line. When she turned 21, she had this huge Kylie turns 21 like ordeal. And so, this is definitely interesting. And like how she was on Forbes, I think it's just really unique, because we're like, oh yeah, Kylie Jenner, of course she's like insanely rich, but she's like worked really hard through her makeup line. And it's kind of like what Aaron was saying, like, oh, like she didn't just get there because she's rich. She like, worked really hard, and her marketing tactics were just very innovative.
Yeah, and again, it's like in some ways, like again, she's lucky with a network, but like you see this happening in other places. It's just like the way it's unpacked there is really, really elegant. And like the woman who actually wrote that article wrote a book called Growth IQ. It came out like I think 2018, and it was one of the better marketing reads of that year, because it was just really packed with great insights around how businesses actually grow and like different strategies for that process. And it was, there's so many good things about it. So like this one has layers to it.
Yes. I do have one final question. It doesn't relate to the article or podcast, but I was like scrolling through your LinkedIn page, just to like know a little bit more about you. And I saw that you said that being in this marketing space is just like having a career shift every 2 years, which I thought was a very interesting perspective. And it kind of gets me excited that I'm like diving into that realm. but could you kind of go into depth about this and maybe how it's impacted your career, and also where do you anticipate marketing to be in the next 2 years?
Okay, so this is a softball and a half, guys. Okay, so yeah, I've basically had a career shift every 2 years. Like I started my career in social. Now I spend most of my time working with groups with like email and retention marketing. And truthfully, it's really exciting because like if you're not evolving, you're not changing, you're not really growing as a marketer. So it's really challenging in understanding, hey, how do I learn and grow fast enough that I'm going to be moving in the right direction as a marketer and as again in the space you're in. But it makes things really fun. Like you're never solving problems the exact same way 2 times, but you really have to work a lot harder outside of work. Because if you're like, again, teaching marketing now, I'm like, hey, you guys, I'm going to tee you up with a lot of great resources through the entire semester that you can take with you. And if you leverage these afterwards, you're going to hopefully have kind of the nuts and bolts of what you need to continue to be a good marketer, because you're going to have to keep up with this all the time. Like it's not the same. It evolves really fast. So if I stayed the same marketer I was in 2008, like I'd be great at Facebook, but the world has changed and the world has moved on. And you really have to understand, hey, how do I burn it to the ground? Understand, what did I learn from this? How do I take what I've learned in the last version of my marketing career and apply it to what's next? Because you really have to kind of readjust, reshift, refocus, and understand what's going to be valuable and what's going to help to differentiate yourself every step along the way. And then hopefully by the time you're like, again, in my age, being old and feeling very irrelevant all the time. I feel so old all the time. Like I felt like I was 90 the first time I touched Snapchat, and I was like, oh my God, what is this snake oil? Like, I don't like this. And like I had to be able to teach again, young people how to like, what's the business structure we need to put this in? How do we scale this on a consistent basis so we can make this consistent? We can leverage this as a channel, because again, the young people around you are going to have all the nuts and bolts skills and insights around how to use the technology. You've just got to give them the platform they need to leverage it in a context that's going to help grow a business. So giving them those tools and that framework really help to kind of create that sweet spot, and hopefully for you guys, like give you a superpower going into the real world, because you've got all the nuts and bolts skills that people over 40 are terrified of.
Right. So kind of going off of, oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not, but yeah, I not over 40, but like a lot of people, I'm saying it's like people, they hit a technological ceiling.
Yeah.
So kind of going off of all that you just said. So with us 4 about to graduate here in May, if there was one piece of advice that you could give us going into the real world and marketing in the real world, what would that be?
Start getting more aggressive about building your network. Start, like, people really, and I'm being completely honest, like I was kicking myself when I graduated school, because I was like, I was not on it in building my LinkedIn network or like really any professional network. Because like as soon as you're done, you're never around this many people again the rest of your life. You guys are all young, ambitious, hungry people, and you're around a lot of young, ambitious, hungry people. Your friends are going to go off and do crazy things around the country, and being able to have access to that network with you afterwards is really beneficial and really valuable, because suddenly, hey, if I am moving to Seattle, I can reach out to people I know in Seattle, like, hey, like, Nick, you're working at Microsoft these days. I'm moving to Seattle. Could we get coffee? And I'd love to learn a little bit more about like the industry, or where else to look in this place. Like, where would you recommend me going that I'm going to have like a good relationship, or could you help connect the dots, help me connect the dots anywhere? Or you can connect somebody else who's moving to that area, say, hey, let me get you in touch with my friend Nick, who works there, and he can help connect you with XYZ, and leverage it in ways that are going to help either benefit you, but also benefit other people too. And that's one of those things that I feel like gets undersold, but when you have those resources with you, you have a lot more power, because again, you've built your network, you have access to people around you, and it really helps later on. and it's honestly really fun to be able to keep up with and connect with people.
Good advice.
It's
Yes.
probably, you guys all get good, like, I'm sure you're going to get like lots of good advice. And also, I used to be in this place a lot more frequently. I used to be really lucky working at Clemson University. I had a team of about 9 content creators at any given time. So we had like an army of students coming through the door every semester. And it was a lot of fun because like you'd see all of them go off and go get cool, sexy jobs. But the pressure you guys have as seniors is way more intense than it should be. You guys could completely screw everything up. And you're, like I said, you're going to have at least a career change every 2 years in market as a marketer. So like, don't put so much pressure on the first thing you do. Like, go to where you're going to learn a lot and grow a lot, and they're going to invest time and resources in you growing, because you're going to have a really good trajectory and being able to like may not like go off and like shoot off like a rocket, but hopefully it's like you're pulling the arrow back and you're shooting it further, faster, and more accurately because you're spending time to learn and understand what you're good at, how to leverage it, and finding a place or a role that is going to be valuable in helping you grow as a person and a marketer.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
And you guys have an awesome network of people that you're connected with. Yeah, like you guys have stuff like this, which is really cool. That, I think it's neat that you guys get like reach out to like
Yes.
other marketers. And if you guys have more questions too, reach out too. Like if you couldn't tell, like I got you guys my Calendly as fast as I could because I was excited to talk shop about like speaking marketing is like my love language. So this is my jam.
Yes, Dr. Rapert's class is very interesting. I know for me, we've never really been able to connect with other marketers. So I love the way she's set up her class because she wants us to reach out to so many people as much as possible.
Yeah, this is by far the coolest, most engaging group project that we've done, and
Definitely.
it's based off curiosity and not a group project.
I really wish that we had done more things like this before our last semester. But I am very thankful and very grateful that she is allowing us to do this and connect with people like you. So thank you.
What spaces are you guys planning on going into when you're done with this? Or where are you hoping to go?
Well, I'll be in Dallas. I'm actually doing sales for a digital media marketing firm because that's just kind of like the realm I want to be in, and I want to do digital marketing in the future. Maybe not sales, but like I'm going to learn a lot. So that's where I'll be after graduation.
Good on you.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, I'll be staying around here in Northwest Arkansas. I'm currently a team member for Pediatrics Clinic. We kind of just get around with other dentists, and we specialize in certain things, kids with autism and stuff like that, and try to get around with other doctors around the area.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Getting to like do good work and like feel.
Yeah, for sure.
I have no idea what I'm doing after college, so that's great.
No, I'm gonna be doing product marketing at Dell in Austin. So I'm excited
It's a
about that.
That's a solid spot to be. I'm going to be in Austin in like a month.
Yeah,
So,
and the best part is I have a few buddies from here that I'm going to be moving with, so that'll make rent a lot cheaper. So I'm excited about that.
Austin's getting expensive. It becomes a very expensive city since the tech industry's moved in. But yeah, Dell would be really cool, especially like getting to understand like that side of things and under the hood of the product marketing team. Good on you. That's not and getting to work in sales, like the next frontier, I feel like for a lot of marketers is like the sales and marketing alignment piece. It is such an open opportunity if you're like understand the sales side of things and understand the marketing side of things. Like that makes you a really dynamic component of any marketing organization.
Yes, I'm excited. That's why I accepted it, because I was like wanting to do marketing later in life, and I feel like this will just give me a great grasp on things.
Yeah,
All right.
it's
Well, that's all we have for you. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for
Yes.
your time, Robbie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robbie. This was very fun.
this was a treat. And if you guys have more questions, let me know. Again, you guys have my email. And thanks for being patient the first time around. We migrated domains over and going from one domain to another. For whatever reason, our inboxes got screwed up for like a few moments. And I was speaking at a conference that day. So I was like running around trying to do everything on my phone and finally got to work, but
No worries.
appreciate
It
your
all
patience.
worked out perfectly. Yes. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank
Okay,
you
you
so
guys are
much.